Welcome to Holland City Connections, the show brought to you by the City of Holland for the citizens of Holland. We have a great show for you today, so stay tuned.
Hi, welcome. We're standing in the DeZwaan Windmill here in Holland, Michigan. This is an 18th century windmill that was brought from the Netherlands in 1964. It was built in 1761 and is a tremendous mill, and I'm going to have the pleasure of telling you some about it today. The rope that I'm standing next to right here is part of the sack hoist, and that's how we actually get grain up to the 5th floor to do the grinding. Two 50-pound bags are tied on the bottom, and then by the power of the wind, up they go, 5 floors up to the grinding floor. This is a working windmill. That's one of the promises that we made to the Dutch government when we received it in 1964. The other promise was keeping it open as a touring mill so that everyone can learn from it, like all of you. So I also want to point out to you the shoe that's right up by my head. The miller was often working on the upper floors in a windmill, and you could only access them by ladder. It was difficult for the miller to have to come down every time a farmer came through. So to make it easier for communication, all a farmer needed to do was maybe slip a note or a payment in the wooden shoe, holler up the shaft, and the note would go right on up in the shoe. It's a great means of communication inside a windmill, and we still use it today. The words that are written on the shoe are written in Dutch. It says, "Berichten voor de molenaar," it means messages for the miller. Now, as we look around, we're surrounded by a brick tower. That's a tower that we built here in '64 in order to raise the windmill up in order to catch the winds off of Lake Michigan. They're built in a special Dutch architectural design, and that was for 2 reasons. One was to add strength to the windmill, to add enough strength to carry the 70 tons that are above us. The other reason is to help keep all of the moisture out, because in a grain mill or flour mill, you needed to keep it especially dry. So that's the way that we built it today. The other thing that you might notice is there's a door right behind me, and there's a door in front of me. This was for the convenience of the farmer. When he would arrive by horse and cart with a load of grain for the miller to grind, it was much easier for him to pull in one door, drop off the grain, and then continue right on out the next door. So it was a great convenience for the farmer and a well-designed windmill. So there's lots more for you to see today, so we're going to continue our journey as we go on up to several more floors. Here we are on the packaging floor, the second floor of our windmill, and this is where we package all of the flour that's ground here. We start with a soft white winter wheat that's grown here in West Michigan by local farmers. It's cleaned and ready to grind when we receive it, and then we put it through our millstones on the 5th floor by the power of the wind, and then it's ground into a beautiful whole wheat flour. Once it's ground, then it lands in a nice stainless steel bin that's actually located right here above my head. When I'm ready to sift and package the flour, then all I have to do is release a lever, let the flour come down through the chute into my bin, and then I might take it and sift it in something like this. And once it's sifted out, then I'll go ahead and package it in 2 different types of packages. One is a 2-pound bag in a paper bag like this, or the other is in a 3-pound bag that's in a nice cloth sack. Both of them would be put through the freezer before they get put out for sale. And we hope that when people purchase the flour, they also remember to put it in their refrigerator or freezer once they take it home as well, because it's all natural with no preservatives added, which is very healthy for you. With each bag of flour, we also offer a nice recipe card with 4 recipes attached. One of my favorites that I like to recommend is the one for whole wheat waffles. It's delicious and worth trying. Now, I'd also like to point out while we're on this floor, there's a sign that's located right in front of my packing table, and in Dutch it says Ambachtelijk Korenmolenaars Gilde, and that refers to the Professional Grain Millers Guild of the Netherlands. We're very fortunate to have one here in our mill here in Holland, Michigan, because there are only 35 of these in the Netherlands, all in professional windmills there run by professional millers. So we're very pleased to have earned one here for our windmill here at DeZwaan. Let's learn a little more about the windmill and continue our journey on up. We're now on the milling floor. This is the 4th floor of the windmill, and next to me here is the continuation of that white rope, which is the sack hoist to the grain elevator, which is how all of that grain gets hoisted up onto the 5th floor to do the grinding. Now behind me here, you'll see another set of doors. There's one behind me and one in front of me, and both doors allow me access out to the blades on the outside of the windmill, as well as the brake that I have to pull in order to stop the blades from moving. You might also notice that next to those doors is wood panels or a wall, and so we've left the brick tower that the mill was raised up on, and we're now in the original section of the windmill that was brought from the Netherlands in 1964. Now this is the floor that I'm found on when we're doing the grinding and the milling, and I would like to show you the chute that I check when the flour is coming down to check the quality and the texture. So let's walk over to the chute. When I'm grinding, I go ahead and open this up, and then I'll reach my hand inside, and I'll catch some of the falling flour as it's coming down. And then once I have it in my hand, I'll check it between my fingers and my thumb to see if I like the quality and the texture of the flour. If I don't, then I may go ahead and use the weights on the rope on the other side to lower down that millstone to be able to get a finer grind. So this is a very important chute to be able to check the quality of the flour while we're grinding. So let's learn a little bit more and take a look at the blades and the capstan wheel. Here we are on the gallery of DeZwaan Windmill. We're up about 40 to 45 feet, and this is where I access the blades to be able to set the sails. Behind me is one of our 4 blades, And you can see the sailcloth tied up here, wrapped around the back, and then secured here on the blade. In order to set the sail, I actually do climb up the lattice framework as a ladder and then set it and hook it on the little hooks on the way down. While I do that, I am wearing a safety harness, which makes it a lot safer procedure to do. The size of the blades is about 6 feet wide by 40 feet long, and all 4 of them together weigh a total of 6,600 pounds, so that's a lot of power and a lot of torque when they're in motion. In order to get them to turn into the wind, because the wind could be from any direction, they are allowed to go 360 degrees, whatever way the wind may be coming from that day. The pitch itself is fixed and does not move, but the direction that they face in is changeable, and I'd like to show you how we do that. Here we are at the capstan wheel. This is on the opposite side of the blades of the windmill. This is the device that's used to really turn the blades into the direction of the wind. It looks like kind of a large ship captain's wheel from a ship, but for our purposes, it's really used with a come-along in order to face the blades into the wind. It's used with a long cable and a pulley that's a come-along, and then the come-along is hooked into different spots along the deck. In order to tighten the cable, I actually have to pull on the handles of the wheel in order to turn it and to get it tightened. Once I get a little bit tired in my upper body, then I actually have the option of stepping on it and using my body weight to turn it, something like this. And then it makes it going a lot easier. So that's the method that we use to turn the blades into the wind. It does take quite a bit of effort and work to do it, but it is all manually done, and it is possible to do it with just one person. Now, the other thing that you might want to notice while we're out here on the gallery of the windmill is the rope that I have tied up just above me here. If you follow that rope on up, it goes all the way up to a long pole called the brake pole, and that connects inside the cap to the brake beam, which then connects to the brake band. That rope is a very important rope for me because that's how I can release the brake or put on the brake in order to stop the blades from turning. But for the time being, I have it tied up. Let's go on up to the 5th floor and take another look. here we are on the 5th floor of the DeZwaan windmill. This is actually the grinding floor, and I'd like to show you how we do that process. In order for me to do the grinding, I first need to get the power from the blades and the wind shaft brought down to the stone gear. So it would require that I climb up one more floor above and pull this stone gear behind me over to mesh or engage with the spur wheel. And that will transfer the power from this gear over to the stone gear to be brought down to turn the millstone that's inside the wooden covering below me. Each set of millstones consists of two. They're always found in a pair. There's a bed stone, which is the bottom stone, and the top stone, which is the runner, and that's the one that actually does the movement. So the bed stone is completely stationary and the runner turns. The stone gear is what provides the power to do that. When I'm ready to grind, after I've engaged the stone gear, then I'll go ahead and pour grain into the hopper right inside here. Once I've got enough grain ready to grind inside, then I'll make sure that there's enough in the shoe down below. And when the stone gear rotates by the power of the wind, it'll shake more grain into the center of the stone called the eye. Once it's in the center, then it gets distributed onto each stone, the bed stone mainly, and I'll just show you with a little bit of grain right here. There's grooves carved into each stone. Those are called furrows, and they provide a cutting service to actually cut the grain and grind it into flour. The grooves, as you notice on this set, are carved in different patterns. So what creates the grinding process is actually scissor action. So once the grain is ground with this turning millstone, then the flour is thrown out to the outside edge of the bedstone, and it's pushed along by the power of a sweep or a follower on the millstone that's running on top, and then it gets pushed down through a chute that you saw me check on the floor below, and then it gets held in a large stainless steel bin and collected. So that's where the flour goes once it's all ground. But you might wonder, how did we get all that grain up here? So let's take a look. The white rope that you see over on this side is the end of that sack hoist that we were seeing earlier, that grain elevator that raises all of that grain up to the 5th floor to do the grinding. We've already raised quite a bit, so the stack behind me right here are stacks of 50-pound bags of wheat ready to be ground. Now all of that is done by the power of the wind through the use of a friction gear that rides on the gear right above me. When I'm ready to hoist the grain, I'll lower that friction gear, it'll pick up the power from the spur wheel, and by the power of the wind, up the grain will come. Now by chance, if I happen to lose the wind and I need to do it manually, that's what the rope next to me is for, the large thick rope. I can always pull on it, and slowly, slowly, I'll be able to hoist all of the grain as you see the white rope coming up. So that's how the grain can be brought up to the grinding floor. On the wall next to me, you might see a series of photos. These were placed to help explain some of the history of the mill. At the very top, the black and white photo, you'll see a picture of Willem and Bertha van Schaik Summers. Willem was the original Dutch miller and mill owner of our windmill when it sat in the Netherlands in the small town of Winkel in North Brabant. We bought the mill from him in 1964 and his wife Bertha, and then it was transported over here and erected here in Holland, Michigan. The very first American miller was Maynard Schrotenboer, and his picture is here. He served for the first year. The next picture on down is John Heuvel, who served for the next 33 years. And then after him is Rob Zogman, who served for the next many years. And then finally my picture up here, and I'm standing with the daughter of the last mill owner from the Netherlands. She visited us in 2007 and was very, very pleased to see the mill put back to its former glory and to see it in working condition and producing flour again. So I wanted to have a photo that would show the two of us together that would help complete the circle. It was really nice to have her be so happy with the completion of the mill. Now in the center, this is a plaque that was created and presented to me in 2007 when I finished my certification over in the Netherlands. Because a question you might ask is, how does one become a miller and how does one choose that as an occupation? For me, being a miller is a lot about teaching history and preserving the past, and this is a great way to do it because it not only preserves part of our history, but it provides an open-air classroom for students of all ages to come and appreciate and enjoy a bit of 18th century. Now, for me, I decided that in order to become the best miller I could be, because I really believe in the words of our wonderful President Abraham Lincoln, who said at one time, "Whatever you are, be a good one." And I knew the best way to do that was to go through a training program for millers. We don't have that here in this country, here in America. But the best place to do that was in the Netherlands, where they have many, many windmills. So after much negotiation, much like our windmill, they finally decided to let one overseas student go through their program. I was the first and only, and they allowed me to go through. And in 2007, I completed the program, and I became the first and only Dutch certified miller in the Americas. So that's what the plaque is representing. Following that certification, I asked if I could go on to the higher level, and that's an elite group of millers that just are professional grain millers. And so I recently completed that program in October of 2009 and was accepted into the Professional Grain Millers Guild, just like the plaque that we saw down on the second floor. So I'm very pleased to join a group of colleagues of 35 men and myself in the Professional Guild. I'm humbled and honored and very grateful that the Dutch millers have included me in their milling community in the Netherlands. And I'm very happy to have had the chance to show you our windmill today. I hope it's been educational and enjoyable, and I do hope that you come out to visit us here at DeZwaan Windmill very soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Holland City Connections. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions, please call 355-1318. Also, be sure to visit the city on the web at www.cityofholland.com. We'll see you next time.